Hey guys, this is the tallow that we've made, jarred up, all cooled. And I told you I'd show you what it looks like. This one is fully cooled. I had it in the fridge. So now they're ready to sit and use. You can use this for cooking, you can use it for soap, you can use it for lotions, all that good stuff. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you think you're gonna try to make some tallow yourself. But I hope you enjoyed it. Shalom. Okay, so this is the last part of our tallow. We put it in the fridge overnight to harden up. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. There's our tallow, and it's hard. So now we got to take a knife around the edges and get our tallow cake out. Break it loose. It can be difficult. Sometimes stuff gets so hard, I just cut it down the middle. Those brown spots you see are the iodine we put in it. Well, it's not quite the middle, is it? But okay. Cut it one-handed, so sorry about that. Let's see if we can get this side out. And break the seal in there. It'd be nice if this would come out all in one piece. However, it doesn't really like to do that for me. We can get this to pop out. That beautiful tallow. Let's fork. It's gonna be stubborn. I really wanted to show you guys a nice pretty tallow cake, however, it's because haha. Okay, here's just a piece of it. Nice and clean, beautiful piece of tallow. You see down there, there is some down there. There it is. So you can see all that is the gel down there, which is what you don't want in your tallow. That is a thick layer of gelatin that you can use for baking. You can even eat it if you want to. So now we will take all this out, get all of our tallow out. It is actually pretty clean with all the impurities dropped out, so I don't really need to scrape it. But if this was any tanner, you would just take your knife and you can scrape all the tan off and all the impurities off until it's to your liking onto your knife. And then you're just gonna melt this down and put it into your jars. So I will show you guys all that. So I just wanted to make mention, if you would have jarred this after the last strain and you did not cool it again, and if this would have been like a darker water would have gotten into your tallow, it would have made your tallow go rancid faster, and it would cause mold. So I got most of the tallow out. There's a few little bits and pieces in there. This is the bigger piece of my tallow cake. So I got quite a bit out of about 11 pounds. There's some gelatin on there I need to get off. So now all I'm gonna do is rinse out my pot. Once again, melt all that down and then put it into the jars and get rid of the gelatin. So tallow pieces, gelatin. Haven't really figured out how to keep this for long periods of time. I don't think it's really meant to, but I do know you could probably find a way to clean it, purify it, and use it and make your own stuff out of it. So it's the gelatin I was talking about earlier in the videos, that you put salt in your tallow. Creates the gelatin pieces. So okay, our tallow is all nice and clean. We're gonna melt it down. The jar is ready. We have a funnel ready. This is not a large batch of tallow, so I know I'm going to be using it pretty quickly. So I just got some, just came off some honey jars. Sanitize everything. If water or impurities get in your tallow and you don't sanitize it, it's not going to keep. So you want to make sure you sanitize. I put in 11 pounds of tallow, I put 1 quart of water, and as you've seen, all I had left is the gelatin stuff. I didn't have any water left in there. You do not want water or, you know, unclean. You can even check the rims if you're used to canning. Check the rims like you would, you know, with a cotton ball or paper towel or whatnot. All my stuff is clean, ready to go. I'm probably going to end up using this batch fairly quickly. So, I don't have the actual canning lids. I'm not planning on keeping this for years and years on a shelf. I do plan on using it. I'll be using 16 ounces of it actually today. So it'll be used up pretty fast. So I'll be back and show you how I put it all in the jars. Okay, so most of our tallow is melted here. I had one chunk, so we're gonna go ahead and start filling our jars. I have a canning funnel. It's got a wide mouth, just in some basic 16-ounce jars here, and my ladle. So we're just going to ladle it into the jars. Trying not to make a huge mess. Obviously it is hot metal, and I've already heated up my jars as well. So that the hot tallow doesn't break my jars. That is never a good idea, to put anything hot in a cold jar. And then that is full. I have no discoloration, so there's no yuck in there. Move to the next jar, and then I just go ahead and put the lid on. Hey, it's hot. That kind of seals it while it cools. Just go to the next one. Now you could pick up the pan and just pour it in there however you wish. However, in my experience, that has been an absolute no-no, because then it goes everywhere. So ladling it is the least messy way for me to be able to get this in the jars. And when it cools, it'll turn back to that pretty white color. If you have discoloration in there, it usually means you still have impurities. You either want to use it quickly or get those impurities out. I have done that in the past if I'm in a big hurry. I just try not to be in a really big hurry anymore, because everything that I'm learning says wait, patience, wait, patience. We all know how lovely that is. Beautiful. So I'm going to fill these last few jars, and then when they cool, I will show you what they look like. Okay, this will be part 3 of the soap making and tallow rendering videos that I started today. It is now 4 p.m. I started rendering tallow at about 8 a.m. this morning. So I'm going to show you how that's looking. Flip you around. So there's the tallow. There's still more. It needs to be rendered out. So it's looking really good. I just came out and stirred it. Tallow rendering takes a while. And this is a little over 11 pounds, I believe I started with. So we're going to just let that finish rendering. Over here, the soap, that honey and honeysuckle soap made. It's pretty firm and dry, so I'm gonna show you how we take it out and cut it. So let's see if we can. Oh, I gotta flip. There you go. I really need to find my tripod. So we're going to take the silicone out, box it so it keeps its form when it's hot. Okay. Just pull it down. I really like these molds. Okay, and there's our brick soap. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I learned the hard way. So I was putting it like this to cut it. I wasn't getting straight cuts, I wasn't getting even cuts, and I noticed through some of my research that some people were cutting it. Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, my dogs decided to get vocal. So some people were turning it, and I tried this the other day with some of the other soap that I had made hot process, and it worked fabulously. So I'm just going to turn it on its side so it's like that. This is the only soap cutter I have right now. I just told my husband the other day that I really want one of the wire cutters because they seem to cut a little bit more even and fluent. So that might be in the future. We will see. So I'm gonna see if I can position you better and show you how I cut this. Okay, so I have it on its side and not upright. And this seems to give me better cuts on it. So then I can just go straight down and cut the bars, and I squeeze it back together, that way it'll be as even as possible with my cuts. And you have your individual bars, soap, so then after this I'll let them sit up. I'll let these dry out a little bit, and then I'll wrap them and get them ready to go to who they need to go to. So I'll be back to show you the tallow. Okay, it is now 6 p.m. I started this at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is what we're down to as far as tallow. I am getting really tired, so we're going to strain some of this out. And then there's still fat in there to be melted, so I'm just going to put it in the oven overnight. But so you guys can see, I have a pot with a strainer. So I have a little helper that's going to help me strain this. And then I'll put that in the oven and let it finish rendering overnight. And I'll deal with it tomorrow to work.
And I think Mom's going to need your help.
Just literally gonna pour. Gonna strain it all out. Now, if you guys remember right, I started out with a little over 11 pounds of tallow, or of beef fat, in this big old pot. So, see all that sedimentation? Okay, so turn that burner off. We will have to restrain this. I'll do a video showing you of that tomorrow, or when I get to it. It may not be tomorrow. Now in this, I put 1 quart of water just so my fat wouldn't burn, because I didn't want it to cook. I didn't want it to burn. So put all that back in there. If you see, you can see there's still fat in there. Jet to melt down. I'm going to try and get as much out of this as possible. So I'm put that in there. And we will put that in the oven on a low heat and let it finish rendering. If I was going to use this pot, it doesn't really fit that, but if you go to this pot, it's what we have for the tallow. A lot of this will be fat. So now what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to literally take this and put it in the fridge and let it harden. And then we will end up doing a second strain on this. Once it's cooled, we'll have to melt it back down. Well, I'll show you the steps when we get there. But right now, that's where we are at. So we will be back to show you the rest of it. Okay, so we're back to our tallow now, and we did the first rendering of it and melted it all down. I did get just a little bit more over the night in order to get some more tallow, but let me show you what we got after putting it in the refrigerator. So That's our tallow. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take some salt. And we're going to just kind of sprinkle a little bit in there. Okay, we put salt in it, and now, because this particular salt does not have iodine, this is a sea salt. If you have regular kitchen salt, do this step. However, I have Lugos iodine, so I'm just going to put a couple, just a dropper full in there. And I'll show you here in a minute. It's the iodine I use. And the salt and the iodine will clean it. So now, and once you heat it, then you're going to let it cool one more time. And that's going to drop all the toxins to the bottom. And you're actually going to end up at the bottom of this, end up with like a gelatin type of mixture. So I'm going to heat it. It should only take a few minutes. And then we're going to strain it to get any meat pieces out, just in case there's anything stuck in there, or meat chunks. You don't want that in your tallow. So we're going to heat it, strain it, and then cool it again. So I will show you those steps. Just thought I'd show you guys this. I just broke off that chunk of tallow. See, that's all stuff that needs to come out. All of this. See that gelatin in there? Those are all like everything you're wanting to drop out. So this is why it's important to do this. Like this little piece, you could scrape off all of that. And just scrape off all the tan and use it as is. But you really, for a good consistency, let's see. No. This is probably how the gelatin they used in cakes and stuff, puddings, like way back when. So if you want to make a natural beef gelatin, that's how you can do it. So, and then you have all your, see all the little meat chunks? That's all like, there you go. So that's why you want to do this step. Look, it's starting to melt already. Takes just a few minutes to get this tallow cake, as they call it, all melted down. There's some more. A little fun fact is, if I have tallow too, because you can can it, and that's what I do. If you have beef fat on hand, you can substitute it, once you clean it anyway, you can substitute it as butter or lard or anything, and it's a lot more healthier for you. You could actually keep this gelatin and use cakes. I would say, I don't really know if you want to keep it for a long time, but with cooking season coming up, you could do that. But I don't know how I feel about this gelatin, knowing that there's toxins and stuff in it. But a lot of people are swearing by it, as far as like the good and stuff in it. So I don't really know if it's toxic, so to speak, but it's definitely something to look into for yourself. Oh, and then, so see, you can see all the impurities in there. So, all right, well, we're just gonna let this all melt back down, and we'll be back when we're ready to strain. I got everything set up to strain. So all I have is a pot. If you're doing a large amount, you can use a big strainer. I just have a little strainer to towel over it to catch all the debris and all the yuck. And we're just going to strain it into that pot, and then I'll probably put it back in there and go from there. So okay, so our tallow is now melted. I'm going to flip it. It's all melted, so we're going to get ready and strain it. So I'll put you here and show you how we pour it in there. It's pot holders, and you're just literally going to pour it through that little rag. Slower rather than quicker. I like to do it all at one time. And he used cotton. A lot of people use cheesecloths. I have found these cotton, they're all cotton shop rags, actually work a little bit better for me when I'm doing bigger batches. I will actually use the big strainer, and I will clothespin my towels onto the strainer so they don't move. A lot of times I do this alone. So the more I can do by myself, the better. So clothespins and actually clothespinning the cloths on have proven to be pretty efficient for me. Sometimes I gotta use the spoon and just move sediments and stuff around. When I get done, I'll show you guys the rag of what really comes out of there. Which is why it's important to have the rag. Especially to get some nice clean tallow to use for soaping or cooking or whatever you like to use it for. And again, this is just a technique I use. It works for me. It gives me a very pretty, very beautiful tallow. So there are lots of videos on YouTube of, you know, how others do tallow. So I would really tell you to search out and find your own technique, because what works for me may not work for you. What works for somebody else may not work for you. I'm just kind of showing you what I have learned through years of soaping and using tallow, and having tallow on hand is never a bad thing. You can even make candles out of tallow. So if, you know, even if you don't want it, you know, being able to have it on hand, it has multiple uses. I have made a tallow candle before. I'm not really sure what I did wrong, but I did something wrong and it didn't really work out. You can also, there's people out there that are also making creams and lotions out of tallow. I'm not to that extent yet. Like, I don't think it'd be too terribly hard, but might be something I might look into here soon. Tallow is really good for the skin anyway. Yep, now we're getting some sediment. So with large batches, I also use a couple of these. Just so it'll kind of go faster, because you get a lot of sediment in these to strain it out, and then it doesn't really want to go anywhere. into the bottom of the barrel, so all the sediment's down there. Pull you up here so you can kind of see what's on the inside. I'm doing. And then we're getting to the sedimenty part. I just kind of don't push because I don't want it in my tallow, but I'll kind of stir so the tallow, the oil can get through, but I don't want that sediment in there. I don't know, see, my pot's getting pretty full, starting to cool off a little bit. So, almost done. See all that sediment? That's what you don't want. That's why you want to strain it. So let's put you here. Here while I finish straining this. And because I really want the tallow back in this blue pot and not in this cast iron, I'm going to rinse out this blue pot real fast. And so I can pour it back in there to cool it. Okay, so now I'm just going to let all of it kind of out. My pot's getting full. Let all that kind of go away. Come through and just kind of keep folding this towel to push out excess oil. Let it continue dripping. Now I only put 1 quart, not 16 ounces, 1 quart of water in this tallow. So hopefully by the time I get done, there won't be any water left in here, so I won't have to do a whole lot with the water. It's drippy, 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 so put that over there. This one-handed. Push lightly, you don't want a whole bunch of in there. And then, I don't know if you can tell it or not, but there's all your sediment. It was inside your tallow that you wanted to get out. Now you can do this process again, and like as you put it back in the pot, you can restrain it, and I'm probably going to do that just to make sure there's no more impurities in there. And then you cool it down again. And then you will have your tallow. So okay, so I did do a second strain on this right quick. Not much more sediment came out, so that is good. So at this point, you could really take a ladle and put it into your jars and have your tallow. I really like to let it cool off, and then I separate the tallow from like the gelatin underneath, and then once it's all like purified and clean to my liking, and I scrape all the stuff off the bottom, which I will show you guys that step, then I will remelt it down and then just immediately jar it up after that so that I can have tallow on hand. So out of this, I feel like I'm going to get probably maybe 64 ounces of tallow from 11 pounds of fat. So we will see when it's done. I'll let it cool for like just a couple hours, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I do all that.